Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for a link to my Amazon store where I've compiled some of the very best items available, including some of my own personal recommendations. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today we're going to be talking about my top 15 favorite lightweight EDC folding knives. I've got a full list of 15 here. Keep in mind that everything on this list is a knife that, number one, I've actually handled, because I'm not going to recommend knives to you guys that I've never handled or experienced, and number two, that I actually like. So if there's something that's not on this list, it's not on the list for one of two reasons. Either I've never handled it, so I can't tell you whether or not it's recommendable, or I've handled it and I don't like it. So keep that in mind. Also, this is a screen recorded episode. A lot of you guys really seem to like these. This is great. I love doing these categorized top 5, top 10, top 15 videos with lists. So I'm glad you guys like them. But for those few of you who don't like these, that's fine. Most of my content, over 900 uploads, is me physically handling knives. So you're welcome to go check that stuff out whenever you want to. But anyways, let's go ahead and get on here. Before we get started, thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me. If you'd like to check out my Patreon and support this channel, there's a link down in the description. Number one here, the Civivi Rustic Gent. This is a lockback knife from Civivi. Very gentlemanly, and this particular picture has the G10 and carbon fiber bolster mixed with the Damascus clip point blade. Now, rest assured, this does come in another variant with just a D2 blade for a little bit less, but man, for the money and the overall weight of 2.71 ounces, I suppose I should mention, how am I defining lightweight? For me, lightweight is anything under 3 ounces, so all 15 knives on this list will weigh less than 3 ounces. Carry profile matters a lot and can really change how the knife carries in your pocket, but, you know, just to keep everything sort of simple, under 3 ounces. Everything on the list is under 3 ounces. The Civivi Rustic Gent is built insanely well, and my goodness does it look good. Its only real competitor in terms of, you know, like aesthetics, at least for me, is the Benchmade Proper. But the Proper is a slip joint, and this is a lockback. I kind of prefer the locking blade a little bit better. The edge, the final edge on this thing gets super thin, so you get to enjoy some nice, gentlemanly cutting performance, and of course, a nice, sleek, you know, lightweight design. This doesn't have a pocket clip, but it does come with a little leather pouch that has a pocket clip, so really, really cool. By the way, these are in no particular order except for some of the last few. I think the last few are a little bit better, but these first 10 or so here, I think are all about the same. Moving on here to number 2, the Giant Mouse Vox Onzo Ace Clyde at 2.38 ounces. You're seeing it in the micarta. They do offer a black G10 variant. This knife was sent to me and actually donated to the channel by Mr. Spirited Whiskey or Spirited Blades on Instagram. This was a wonderful knife, and I didn't even know that it existed, and then I started to play with it, and I was like, man, I like that sort of Persian-style blade, and especially, for whatever reason, the orange mixed with micarta. I'm generally not a fan of orange, but it looks really good up against that sort of natural-looking micarta. And on top of that, it's an amazing EDC knife. Very easy to actuate, disengage, blah, blah, blah. Lightweight, compact design. I mean, all the way around, this is just an easy-to-carry knife. I love it. Moving on to number 3 here, one that is very well known by many people, the Kershaw Shuffle. I know that there's a Shuffle too. I just like the Shuffle a little bit better. It's not made out of anything special, but you've got a bottle opener, you've got a little pry bar that'll work in some situations. You've got, you know, a little flathead screwdriver, and then you've got a blade on it. And on top of that, you can get, you know, more or less a full grip on this guy. And it comes in at 2.8 ounces. You know, even though this isn't the most premium knife out there by a long shot, it certainly is a utilitarian little design, and it's something you can just throw in your pocket when you know, if you need to run to the gas station or the grocery store or whatever, you just want to have something on you, but maybe you're in sweatpants because you'd already settled in for the evening, and oh, we need hot dogs or hot dog buns, right? So you run out there, you got to put a knife in your pocket, right? You don't want to take your $500, you know, knife with you. This is the one to throw in there. So absolutely, you know, for all the prying tests you got to do at the grocery store. 2.8 ounces, absolutely. Moving on to number 4 here, kind of a surprise model. One that I've got currently in my possession. You might have seen me unbox it here recently, but I haven't actually reviewed it yet. The Spyderco Brauer. I really like this knife, and I feel like it's pretty underrated. Something that kind of shocked me before I, you know, really, you know, kind of thought about it was the weight. 2.8 ounces on this guy, and it is a titanium frame lock. You can definitely get a full, I mean, what really impresses me about a lot of these lightweight designs is when I can get a full purchase on the knife, and you definitely can. This knife is running on phosphor bronze, I believe. I hope that I'm not wrong about that. I'm pretty sure it runs on phosphor bronze, titanium frame lock. Beautiful, beautiful knife. Very simple design, very straightforward utilitarian design, and the carry profile is excellent. So with it coming in at 2.8 ounces, absolutely it deserves a spot on this list. Moving on here, the Benchmade Proper at number 5. Again, you know, aesthetically, it's in my opinion, it's only real competition out there, at least in the same kind of the same wheelhouse with the rustic gent, except that it's not a lockback, it's a slip joint. Many of you guys do prefer slip joints. I know my dad does. I actually gifted him a Red G10 and S30V Benchmade Proper, which he still uses. It's his knife that stays in the console of his truck, and he's using there. This knife fits a wide variety of different EDC rolls, and it is super easy to carry. To me, this is a back pocket knife or a backup knife. You know, I'm going to carry my main large knife in I'm right-handed, so my right-hand side front pocket, and then I always keep a smaller slip joint, usually the Victorinox Cadet in my rear right-hand side pocket, but that's how I'd carry this, and it would serve that role super well. I also gave one of these to my buddy, Endure88 on Instagram, and I know he loves it, uses it all the time. This is an excellent knife coming in at 2.28 ounces. Well deserving of the spot on this list. Next up, another knife that you guys are going to be super familiar with, and it'll be no shock it's on the list, the Spyderco Delica 4, coming in at 2.5 ounces. Everybody knows about this knife. It's been famous for a long time, and while possibly the design is outdated and thoroughly surpassed by the Spyderco Para 3, it's still an excellent knife, right? The standard models coming in, VG10. I think there's still some ZDP 189 models floating around out there. The thing that I like outside of the weight with this guy, or the ergonomics and the lock-in position, it's kind of a weird-looking knife. I'm not the biggest fan of FRN, but this knife is backed up by some pretty serious structural integrity, and you really can do a lot of work with it for it being, you know, a lightweight sort of. Initially, it feels a little frail. Anything with FRN or Grivery feels a little frail to me, but that stuff is strong, and you can trust it. On top of that, I really like the slight curvature at the tip, the little pelican bill that's kind of at the tip. Really nice for tearing into packages. On top of that, it's fully flat ground, and you can engage that thumb hole really, really easily. Not a lot of fidget factor with this guy, but definitely a good choice. Moving on here to number 7, another super obvious one, the Ontario Rat Model 2, coming in at 2.75 ounces. You can get these in D2, you can get them in AUS 8. Here recently, people have said that the AUS 8 one might actually be better. Whatever, get whatever one you want, because these are awesome. Carry profile is excellent. Ease of manipulation is excellent. The scales are, in this case, carbon fiber, which I believe is actually a laminate carbon fiber on these guys, but they come in standard in, I believe it's a plasticky FRN kind of thing that looks a lot like G10. It's got a really straightforward looking design. I beat the crud out of my Ontario Rat 1. I hope I said Rat 2 on this guy. This is a smaller guy. I beat the crud out of the Ontario Rat 1, and I love it. I have suggested to many local buddies that they pick up a Rat 1 or Rat 2, and many of them have and continue to use them to this day. They're nearly indestructible as long as you're being responsible. Also running on phosphor bronze, an excellent choice. Did I mention most of these knives will have links down in the description? Why did I not mention that? You guys probably saw at the beginning of the video where I'm like, check out my Amazon store. Yeah, I'll make sure that there's direct links for most of these knives down there so you guys can check these out for yourselves. Absolutely. Moving on here to number 8, a knife that was super popular for a little bit. This is the Western Active Honey Badger Medium, coming in at 2.96 ounces. Another knife with FRN handles. It does have an easy to engage sort of thumb half moon, I guess. Not really a thumb hole. It's got that nice forward twirl, and it's a flipper, and it runs on bearings. This is an awesome little EDC knife. Not one that I would consider to be, you know, ultra hard use, but it is a full-size knife, right? I mean, it's right there in full-size knife territory. It's bigger than the small one's too small. The really large one's a little too big for me, and this is kind of a, you know, Goldilocks situation. It's just, this one's just right. This is a good knife. If you don't mind FRN and you really like the fidget factor of a knife that runs on bearings and you're on a budget, this is a great knife because they come in very, very inexpensive. You can only pick these up at the Western Active website, I believe, so you'll have to check that one out there. Moving on here, another one that is super obvious, the Benchmade Mini Reptilian. I cannot, this knife I have almost bought more than any other knife that I have ever almost bought. I have a local Benchmade dealer, and, you know, anytime that I'm considering buying a Benchmade Mini Reptilian, I'm considering buying it because I'm going to customize it. Why? Because I don't like FRN, even if the weight goes up a little bit. If you watch my channel, you'll know that I prefer to carry a knife that's a little bit heavier. I kind of like the 4 to 6 ounce range, maybe even 6.5 sometimes. I like my heavy duty titanium, but that's not what this list is about, right? There's still many good knives out there that are ultra lightweight, and this is definitely one of them. Something behind me shaking, that was weird and ominous. Anyways, the Benchmade Mini Reptilian is super easy to actuate. Comes in S30V steel now, and you can get it for like $85 to $90. It's still, in my opinion, a little bit overpriced, but you know, again, the FRN scale is very durable, super ergonomic, it looks good, and it comes in every color you could possibly imagine. Oh, and did I mention a weight of 2.56 ounces. Excellent, excellent knife. Moving on here to number 10. These are the ones that I think are a little bit more serious. The Cold Steel Tough Light. This knife is on so many lists, and I talk about it so much. This has got to be, other than the Tough Light Mini, which I'll admit I've never handled, this has got to be one of the toughest lightweight designs. I mean, it's in the name, Tough Light. It's got the triad lock from Cold Steel, and then you've got the, what I'm assuming is FRN handles, and it is Aussate steel, but I mean, this thing is unbelievably inexpensive. If you're talking about a sub $30 knife, you can get a full purchase on the thing. The ergonomics are as excellent as they look. It's incredibly comfortable, easy to carry, and that little Wharncliffe sort of box cutter looking blade is perfect for anything, just little minor utility tasks. You got to cut open a bag of dirt, you got to cut a strap or something, you're unpack. I mean, this thing is excellent. It is made for the human hand, and it comes in at a whopping 2.5 ounces, as many of the other ones on this list. If you have not checked out this knife, check it out. It's excellent. Moving on here, another obvious one, the Benchmade Mini Bug Out. This is the lightest knife on the list, guys, and I did not know how much I was going to like this knife until I found myself stuck inside for weeks at a time because of the situation that's going on in the world, right? So I'm wearing a lot of sweatpants and a lot of athletic shorts. Basically, the motivation behind making this video was that I found myself in this situation preferring lighter weight knives because I'm not going to carry around a big chunk of titanium in sweatpants. It just doesn't make any sense. This thing is amazing. It is the most compact, most all the way around, like the carry profile. In fact, you need to make a habit of checking your pockets before you change clothes, because if you don't, it's going through the wash. You're going to forget that it's there. It's not only super lightweight at 1.5 ounces, but it's basically nothing. And you're still getting a lot of usable cutting edge, very thin behind the edge, easy to actuate because of the axis lock. It's also an ambidextrous lock. You can mount the pocket clip on both sides, so lefties rejoice, right? Lots of good things to say about this. The only downside is it's quite a bit overpriced at something like $140. Come on, Benchmade, come on. That's too much money. Coming in slightly less expensive and slightly heavier, its older brother, obviously, the large Bug Out. I'm sure people are like, you could have included both of those in the same one. Yeah, I could have, but I didn't. So number 12, the Benchmade Bug Out, coming in at 1.85 ounces. I honestly like the Mini a little bit more because it seems to complement the overall idea of the knife, which is ultra compact. And I know, you get an extra 0.35 ounces for an extra 0.75 inches of cutting edge or an inch of cutting edge or something like that. And that's great. This really is a great knife. And, if that's what you're looking for, if you want a little bit more cutting edge and you don't mind an extra 0.35 ounces, that, let's be honest, nobody is going to be able to tell the difference. It's the difference in your pocket is going to be the overall, size of the object and not the weight, right? So I would say if you're planning on, for general, regular EDC, if you're trying to choose between the Mini Bug Out and the large Bug Out, go for the Mini one, right? If you're camping or hiking and you want to kind of minimize the amount of stuff that's on your person because you're carrying a pack or some other things, yeah, the Bug Out. I mean, it's in the name, right? Makes sense. Absolutely, the Bug Out. I don't like Grivery. I don't like how it feels, but I can't deny that it just makes sense for a lightweight cutting tool. Again, this one's a little bit overpriced, but, for people who like the ultra lightweight thing, yeah, this is a no-brainer for sure. Moving on here to number 13. This is a major one. the Spyderco Para 3 Lightweight. Holy cow. About the only thing that I don't like about this knife is, again, the FRN scales. But man, they did it right. They even added some additional reinforcement on the inside of it, so it really feels a lot more solid than knives like the Bug Out. Spyderco Para 3 Lightweight coming in at 2.5 ounces. In my opinion, well worth it over the Bug Out. This is an excellent knife. My most carried folding knife of all time is the Spyderco Para 3 in G10. The only thing that stinks about the G10 version, I don't really care so much that it's heavier, is the shape and position of the pocket clip that comes standard on the knife. You kind of have to spend some more money and get a better clip. On this guy, it comes with the wire clip, and it's substantially less expensive, right? This is definitely a no-brainer for people who like lightweight knives. It is ungodly easy to manipulate and a fantastic everyday cutting tool. You need to check this one out. Coming in at number 14, one of my personal favorites because it's in G10, the Benchmade 940-2. This is such a good-looking knife. You know, I've owned 3 different Benchmade 940s. I owned one of the 154 cm green aluminum and purple titanium backspacer 940s back before they were S30V. And then the very first S30V knife that I ever owned was the upgrade. You know, then at the time it was an upgrade. The 940 started coming out in S30V, and I thought, oh, wow, S30V, wow, that's like a super steal. This was a long time ago. This was 2012 or 13. When did they come out in S30V? It was a long time ago, right? Excellent, excellent knife. Incredible, ultra lightweight compact design. By the way, weight of the G10 version coming in at 2.65 ounces. Instead of, if you're like me and you don't like FRN or Grivery, but you still like that kind of Bug Out-esque profile, and you like the axis lock, go with the 940-2. You get a cartridge liner in there, so it is reinforced with a little bit of steel, but you've got G10, so it feels a little more premium. The snap of the deployment doesn't sound so hollow, and you have an excellent reverse Tanto blade and 3.4 inches of cutting edge. Wow, definitely, this is an amazing knife. Moving on to number 15, this is definitely the only lightweight knife that I'm actually considering purchasing for myself that's in FRN. I honestly think this is an amazing feat. I was convinced in my mind that this thing was, it had to be, because I'd never handled one up until very recently. I thought it had to be over 3.5 ounces. And that's going to be the Spyderco Mannix-2 Lightweight. The Spyderco Mannix-2 is one of my favorite Spydercos of all time. This is definitely a full-size knife. It's got very Rick Hinderer-esque ergonomics, that nice choke-up position, that amazing leaf-shaped blade that's a little more reinforced than some of the other Spyderco flagship designs like the PM2 and the Para 3, but it just feels so much more robust. And you still get that fully ambidextrous lock, the cage lock, which is awesome, very, very strong. Lefties and righties can enjoy this. This knife comes in at 2.96 ounces, which is amazing. Here's why it threw me off. It's because the original G10 versions with the liners, they were full liners. It was the one I owned here recently. 5 ounces, maybe a little over 5 ounces. And then like the S110V Blurples and some of the dealer exclusives and sprint runs came out with milled liners at 4.5 ounces. And I thought there is no way that they can shave off 1.5 ounces. In my mind, at least subconsciously, I was like, it has to weigh at least 3.5 ounces because they're not shaving off 1.5 ounces with the FRN. Well, guess what? They did. This is an absolutely full-size, completely capable knife that weighs 2.96 ounces. You can get it in the standard form in CTS BD1 for something like 85 to 90 bucks. That's okay. You can also get it in Maximate if you want to pay 200 bucks for something like this. But you are definitely getting a serious cutting tool that's going to be right at home in a lot of different places, whether you're just EDCing it or you're out on a job site, like a construction site, or you're camping, hiking, hunting, fishing, whatever you're doing. This is just an excellent lightweight design. I really, it just blows my mind. A lot of the knives on this list were knives that people were already aware of, but this is just, you know, my thoughts. If anybody was curious about which lightweight knives I actually liked, being somebody that traditionally carries a much heavier knife, here you go. These are the ones. Like I said, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, like I said, most of these will have links down in the description where you can check them out for yourselves. But I do appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.